take for granted for even a second the fact that I have zero interest in the desserts and candies and stuff that are sold in a grocery store. I don't know why, and I can't explain it, but I am so grateful for it because I have many friends who struggle with sugar cravings and who love that stuff. So it's in their face every single time they go grocery shopping. And I am very aware of how hard that is for a lot of people. And I don't know why, but I see that stuff and I'm just completely repelled by it. And I am so grateful. I wouldn't say that I have a sweet tooth. I definitely am somebody who will go for the salty snacks first. For some people that's crazy, but for me, definitely, like if there's a cake here and there's like olives here, I'm going for the olives all the way. Olives, lupini beans, crackers, and cashew cheese any day over dessert, for sure. I do, however, love making homemade desserts. I like it very much and I will definitely eat it. I like homemade desserts like tarts and pies and cookies and stuff like that. And while I don't think there's anything wrong with eating it in moderation from time to time, your body can recover from that quite easily. I think we're resilient that way. But we shouldn't be eating it regularly or daily. And I go through these phases where I get really inspired. And I know like for a while, not that long ago, well, a few months ago, I was really excited about a bunch of different recipes. And I noticed we were having dessert in the house pretty much most days. There was dessert. And I will eat it. That's a whole other story. Like grocery store cookies, zero interest. Homemade cookies, on the other hand, best kept like out of my immediate line of vision. As I said, I don't think there's anything terribly wrong with eating it from time to time. I think most of us are resilient enough to recover from eating sugar occasionally, and in not enormous quantities. Some people are super sensitive to it and they will know right away. Their body will react right away, and that is definitely something to be avoided. If you're one of those people, just try and avoid it altogether. It typically, though, it's more like if you're eating it in large quantities and really regularly that you start to run the risk of having negative health effects. So that can be anything from poor oral health to elevated insulin resistance leading to type 2 diabetes. It can feed certain cancers. It definitely increases inflammation, which then triggers a whole bunch of autoimmune disorders. And I mean, there's a long list of reasons why you should not eat copious amounts of sugar or eat sugar regularly. And I'm talking about refined sugar. I'm not talking about the sugars that you find in fruit, for example, or whole grain carbohydrates, things like that. I think one of the problems is that a lot of people don't even realize how much sugar they're eating because it's sneaky. It's like salt, it's in so many different store-bought foods. There is sugar and sodium in anything from like fruit juices and yogurts to baby foods and pasta sauces, salad dressings. There's a lot of places that sugar is added that you might actually be really surprised to find it. And that's why it's really, really important to read labels when you're buying prepackaged foods. I have a lot of nutrition clients who have told me that they're not really eating that much sugar or sodium or saturated fats or whatever. But then once we do like a 1 week food journal or they really start examining the labels of the foods that they're buying, they're kind of shocked to add up how much they're consuming without even realizing it. I've had a lot of nutrition clients ask me for replacements of things that they can eat when they do have those sugar cravings, and asking about artificial sweeteners and things like that are lower in calories and what have you. A lot of that stuff is also just really terrible for you. And it's just better to avoid those altogether, even if they say 0 calories or whatever. A lot of it's just chemical crap that you don't need in your body, or just another really refined product that has other side effects that you should probably avoid. So of course I can just tell them have a piece of fruit, but I know that is not often very appealing, especially if you're really used to that hit of like concentrated sugar. If you're someone who's been eating a lot of chocolates and candies and processed desserts, your body is used to a very concentrated sweetness. So just eating an apple is not gonna do that. So I'm gonna tell you to just eat an apple. You're gonna eat an apple and then you're still gonna be craving something sweet. So you can get to that point where that definitely scratches that itch. But in the beginning, it can be pretty fruitless. Sorry, no pun intended. Kinda, sorta. For some people, it's just a matter of cutting down on the amounts of sugar that they're eating in a serving, for example. So if you're just certain you can't live without ice cream, you can. But if you're certain that you can't, instead of having a big bowl of ice cream, then I would recommend actually having a bowl of fruit with a bit of ice cream alongside it, or on it, under it, with it. But I am going to show you 3 really super crazy, easy, quick, and very customizable snacks that should help curb those sugar cravings. So I'll be honest, the first time someone suggested stuffed dates as a snack, I was pretty put off. But then I tried it and I am converted. I tried them stuffed with pistachio butter, which I really, really liked. Cool thing about using any kind of nuts or seeds to stuff your dates is that the protein and fats slow down the release of sugar into your bloodstream. So you won't get as high of a blood sugar spike when you eat something sugary if it also has protein in it. And then by the same token, if you're not eating enough protein and healthy fats, you actually tend to have more sugar cravings or cravings for sweets. I also cut up some candied ginger. So it's a tiny bit of a cheat because there is a little teeny bit of sugar on the ginger, but not tons. And I stuffed the dates with a whole pecan, and I added just the tiniest bit of candied ginger to those. And I love the spiciness of ginger. I'm a huge fan of ginger. So the ginger with the nut and the sweetness of the date, I think goes really, really good together. A date stuffed with tahini and sprinkled with sesame seeds tastes so much like halva, which I love so much but never get to eat because it's usually made with honey. And the only vegan halva that I've tasted wasn't that great, I'll be honest. But I find these dates just stuffed with tahini actually really taste like halva, and I love them. And of course, I had to stuff my dates with peanut butter because I freaking love peanut butter and chocolate together. So I also drizzled a little tiny bit of dark chocolate on top. And some of you are probably thinking, hey, but there's sugar in dark chocolate. There is. But it's such a tiny amount compared. If you eat like a couple of dates stuffed with peanut butter and drizzled with the teeniest bit of dark chocolate, you're kind of getting that chocolate fix without eating a whole chocolate bar, let's say. Our bodies are always telling us what they need. We just need to become better listeners. So if you are craving intense amount of sugar, you need to listen to that. And I'm not saying that you then need to go eat sugar. I'm just saying there's probably more to that craving that you're having for cupcakes than just, having seen a cupcake on a commercial. Like there's probably something that you need that you're not getting. So that might actually be just energy, and it might actually be some kind of a deficiency that you're having. For example, some deficiencies can make us feel cravings for sugar. So if you're deficient in something like chromium, magnesium, iron, calcium, zinc, some B vitamins like B12 and B6, which are really essential for producing energy, all of those deficiencies can increase your cravings for sugar. And speaking of energy, sometimes it's about your blood sugar levels. So it's important to pay attention to when you're getting these cravings also, because if you haven't eaten in hours, maybe your body is literally craving energy, because sugar is energy, let's say. I'm simplifying it, of course, but if you are craving energy, the fastest, most obvious hit of energy you can get is a sugar. And it's pretty rare that we're like, oh, I'm feeling low in energy, I should eat some brown rice. I'm gonna have a bowl of quinoa. We usually go for instinctively, and rightfully so, the most obvious and immediate sugar hit that we can get. And so yes, your body's right. It's asking for energy, and that's what you need to give it, but you need to make sure that the energy that you're giving it is a quality source, not just a refined flour or sugar that is going to make your blood sugar levels spike and then come crashing back down and leaving you feeling even worse and more in need of energy than you were before you ate the cupcake, let's say. There can be many reasons why you might be lacking that energy also. But some of the most common ones would just be things like the fact that you're not eating enough. So maybe you're skipping meals, or you're fasting on purpose, or forgetting to eat when you should. Maybe you're just not eating enough, or you're not eating foods that are satiating enough. So if you're eating a meal that is high in refined flours and saturated fats, let's say, and very low in fiber and filling foods, maybe it will fill you up quickly, but then it won't satiate you. You won't stay feeling full. And another reason is just really maybe very obvious. You're not sleeping enough, or the sleep that you're getting is not quality sleep. And when you are not getting enough sleep or enough quality sleep, this really dysregulates your hormones. So like your ghrelin will be elevated, which is the hormone that tells you that you're hungry. And then the leptin will be decreased, which is the hormone that tells you that you are satiated and that you don't need to keep eating. So that's why it's not uncommon for us to feel very hungry when we're overtired.
Bananas are naturally sweet. I don't love bananas. I don't like them even really very much by themselves. But I love making nice cream with bananas because it's just so easy. You just use frozen sliced bananas as your base, as your creamy ice cream base. And then you can add pretty much anything to it, any kind of fruit. I like, of course, because I'm a huge fan of peanut butter and chocolate. I like adding peanut butter and a couple of chocolate chips. And since kiwis are in season right now and we have many of them, I made a kiwi ice cream, and it could not be easier to make. You just take your frozen, so say like 2 frozen bananas, sliced, and a couple of kiwis, put it in the food processor until it's well blended, and you have a gorgeous creamy kiwi ice cream.
And then, of course, there's also emotional eating, which kind of has 2 sides to it, because yes, there's the part that's purely emotional, let's say, the part that is kind of a learned behavior that maybe we have had instilled in us since we were very tiny, that like a cookie or a popsicle or ice cream will fix our bobos if we're feeling sad, if we've been hurt, if we are sick, under the weather. And of course, it's really the opposite of what we need, because when we are feeling stressed, actually what we need to do is to eat things that are helpful and healthful, to help, regulate our hormones and boost our immune system, not the opposite. But there's an actual physical response also. So if you are under a lot of stress, your cortisol levels might actually peak. And when that happens, this also triggers feelings of hunger for a lot of people, and even specific cravings. For some people, it's the opposite, and they are not able to eat when they're stressed, which then again will create overeating or cravings later, because they're literally craving that energy that we were just talking about. But for a lot of people, those feelings of stress actually increase the cravings for certain foods, or just to eat in general. For some people, these sugar cravings are literally a symptom of an addiction, a literal addiction to sugar. Not everybody has that, but some people certainly do. And there's tons and tons of research backing that up and equating sugar with cocaine, for example. So showing that the hit of dopamine that you get from eating that sugar can be compared to the hit of dopamine that you get from doing hard drugs like heroin and cocaine. And again, I'm talking about refined sugar. I'm not talking about the sugar that's in a banana or a pear. I'm talking about refined concentrated sugars. Dopamine is one of those neurochemicals that is linked to our sense of reward and pleasure. And when you get really high surges of dopamine, your body's natural response to that is to try and sort of numb down your receptors a little bit, which is kind of how addiction works. I mean, it's much more complicated than that, but it's why when people become addicted to something, they need more and more of it. So if your brain has been wired to only get that hit off of like super high concentrated sugar, then the joy that maybe you used to get from eating grapes or peach or something like that is lessened considerably, because your receptors are not picking up on that anymore. I hope I'm making sense. The reason why I'm talking about this is because, I mean, obviously it's just not healthy for you to be addicted to refined sugars. That's just really bad for your health. But this isn't just about food. Once your receptors have been kind of numbed down like that, this means it is also inhibiting the amount of joy that you feel from things that maybe before you took an enormous amount of pleasure in. And that includes activities and other sensories and things that you experienced before that were very exciting and made you feel very happy and fulfilled and content. And now you're not feeling that same feeling anymore. You're just feeling it, or mostly feeling it, from the response to you answering to those sugar cravings. So of course, if you have an addiction to sugar, like any addiction, it's really, really important to take that seriously and to access any resources that are available to you so that you can start healing and liberating yourself from that addiction. And in that process, and in fact, in the process of reducing sugar from your diet for anyone, whether you're addicted or not, it's really important to do that from a place of self-compassion. Because I need to remind you also that our food industry is built in a way to create a codependent relationship. So there are many psychologists and scientists and other people on board who have very finely tuned a lot of these foods to make sure that you will be addicted to them, or that you will be more hungry when you eat them or crave them, because that is how these companies make money. So if you feel like your craving is bigger than your will to curb it, there's a very real reason for that. It's really important to release that shame and that guilt if you are experiencing that, so that you can just educate yourself and empower yourself and find the help that you need to make better choices for yourself. And don't let these horrible companies have that control over you or your happiness, your well-being, and your health.
Usually when I'm craving sweets, I crave cookies, homemade cookies. And when I saw that Dr. Greger made a cookie with no sugar and no fat, and again, the base is bananas, I wasn't super excited. I didn't think I was going to love them. You're not going to get that same like fat, sugar, salt hit from this. That's for sure. But if you add some cinnamon and dried fruit, like I used dried apricots in this one. I've used raisins. I've used dried cranberries. In this one, I added also a handful of sunflower seeds. And but you can experiment and do whatever you want. Any kind of dried fruits or seeds or nuts works. And basically, you just take the mashed banana, about a cup of oats that have been ground down in your food processor, your NutriBullet or whatever, and then your nuts and seeds. You can even add a few chocolate chips if you want to, and then you just scoop it out onto a cookie sheet just like you would with any kind of cookie dough, and bake it at 350 for, well, it depends on how big your cookies are, but let's say approximately 12-ish minutes, give or take. And they're actually pretty tasty. They're a great little snack in the middle of the day with your tea. They make a great snack to bring with you if you're going for a hike or snowshoeing or something like that, active. Or if you know you're going to go to the gym and you're going to be hungry afterwards. Instead of buying one of those really dense protein bars or going for something sweet or some empty carbs, these cookies are great.
Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you found it helpful, whether you are very seriously addicted to sugar or you are just looking for a few healthy replacements to fit into your diet when you are having those sugar cravings. Remember that behavior change takes time and effort, so be patient and compassionate with yourself. I can't thank you enough for being here, being a part of this community. If you are a Patreon subscriber, I don't have words, as usual. I just thank you for believing in me, for contributing to the work that I'm doing and helping to make this channel possible. If you are someone who would like to work one-on-one with me for nutrition or naturopathy, there is a booking link in the description below. I work virtually with people as well as live in person here in Montreal, and there are a few ways to book a consultation. So just follow that link if that interests you. I will be back very, very soon, and in the meantime, take really good care of yourselves.